I think that that's what's hard for folks that don't have a medical background to understand, is that that is the area we always deal in, is gray area, and we're constantly weighing our decisions of these are the probabilities, what decision do you want to make as the patient? It's almost never a clear-cut answer on most of medicine.
That is Dr. Loren Colson, a family physician who provides obstetrics and reproductive care to the Treasure Valley. That interview was done the day the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade on June 24th, 2022. And that Dobbs decision triggered Idaho's abortion ban, putting doctors in a position to be prosecuted for performing or helping a woman to have an abortion. He was talking about the muddled mess that put doctors in would that bill or that law go into effect. And that day, he was explaining his concern not really knowing what situations would warrant an abortion when it comes to saving the life of a mother, because that was the definition. Because nothing is ever 100% certain, as he told us. One thing Dr. Colson was sure of, he didn't expect 2 years later, or nearly that, he would be talking publicly about what happened to his wife, that Idaho's abortion laws would lead to issues on how to handle a miscarriage, of which there are 3 ways. You could have a surgical procedure, known as a D&C, which is taken care of that day. You could take some medicine, which takes a couple of days, but it's convenient, safer option for a lot of women. Or you could rely on what is called expectant management, where the body expels the pregnancy itself, but that could take weeks or months and is unpredictable. Here's what happened when Kristen Colson was offered those options. Dr. Loren Colson.
Yeah, it's been about 3.5 years.
And his wife, Kristen, have been trying for a while to have a baby. Then several weeks ago,
it was not this last Friday, but the previous Friday,
Kristen found out she was pregnant again.
This time we went in for our ultrasound, and we had what's called an embryonic pregnancy, where a gestational sac will grow in the uterus, but there isn't an embryo that's growing with it, or the embryo grew and was reabsorbed. I mean, it's a very clear non-viable pregnancy.
Kristen is familiar with a non-viable pregnancy, having miscarried multiple times, which means she's also familiar with her options.
It's called expectant management, where your body resolves the miscarriage on its own. And then there's also a procedure called a D&C. So it's a surgical procedure. There's also medication that you can take, and it's prescribed by your physician.
You chose the medication?
Yes, I chose the medication based on my past history and my experiences with the other options. I felt that the medication was the best option for me with this pregnancy.
The medication she was prescribed was misoprostol, which causes the uterus to contract to expel a non-viable pregnancy. It's also one of the drugs used in an abortion. So your doctor gave you a prescription, and you took it to the pharmacy?
Yes, it was immediately sent to my pharmacy after my doctor's visit.
And then what happened?
Typically, I get a text message when my prescriptions are ready from my local pharmacy, and I didn't receive a text message that day.
So finally, Kristen called and asked the pharmacist.
And they shared with me that they were not going to fill the prescription. They did not feel comfortable filling the prescription at that dosage due to the Idaho laws.
Idaho laws, as they pertain to abortion, would make anyone helping to perform that procedure liable to time in prison, a fine, and a loss of their medical license. What did you say?
I was shocked and confused, frankly.
Did they give any other explanation besides that?
No, they recommended that I call my doctor's office and have the prescription sent to another pharmacy.
What was that like for you?
It was hard. I mean, anyone that's gone through a miscarriage, it's a very emotional and sad time to begin with. And you know, thinking that I can just go to my pharmacy, get this prescription filled, and, you know, we can resolve this. It was frustrating.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of concern around medications like misoprostol that are also part of a regimen if you were having an abortion as well. And for the pharmacists, I think, just like us as physicians, sometimes that there's a lot of ambiguity with the laws where people aren't quite sure or don't understand exactly what they can and can't do. And
so where does my liability begin?
We wanted to get a pharmacist's perspective.
What boxes do I have to check in order to make sure this is a legal prescription?
Do you think pharmacists are wary of kind of fulfilling some of these prescriptions based on Idaho's abortion laws?
I do. Well, I mean, you think it's much easier to just not fill a prescription. That's the kind of the easy way out.
The safe way.
It's the safe way out, and I think it's out of abundance of caution. You know, no one wants to violate a law, but if the education isn't coming down from the state, or if the law isn't clear, then it's really hard to make those distinctions.
Pregnancy complication.
That lack of clarity is why Dr. Colson wanted to take his wife's story public, posting on social media because of Idaho laws, so that's cool, the day it happened. When Loren wanted to kind of take it out into the public, were you okay with that?
Absolutely. I think that it's important for people to hear these stories and get a better understanding of the impact that the laws are having on the community.
Do you think that raising awareness and like bringing attention to this will change anything?
I hope so. Miscarriages are incredibly common. And so while this happened to Kristen and this happened to us and we're being public about this, this is happening to tons of people throughout the state all the time. And I think for our legislators and others to realize how common it is, people need to talk about it. And that's a big reason why we decided to talk about it.
Kristen told us she's fortunate to be married to a physician who specializes in reproductive care, so she knew what was allowed and what wasn't. She knew this pharmacist was likely misinterpreting the law. They live in Boise, and she was able to get her prescription filled at another pharmacy. But she said she was also worried about those women who live in smaller towns across Idaho with fewer options. Dr. Colson pointed out miscarriages, yes, they are common. According to the National Library of Medicine, as many as 26% of all pregnancies end in miscarriage. So likely there are going to be women who run into this problem at some point, which is why at his clinic, they just keep medications like this misoprostol, on hand so patients can avoid any hassle of a pharmacist's refusal. Both he and the pharmacist would like to see some directive. That'd be Matt Murray from Custom Medica that we spoke with today. Both he and Colson would like to see some directive and education from the state to clear up any confusion when it comes to miscarriage medications and treatment.